All right. All right, people. To be the best, you have to beat the best, or something. Maybe the Astros aren't the best, but from our perspective, they seem like it because we play them 19 times a year. We have to deal with them constantly. And they get the better of us most of the time. Point blank, period. As good as we were this year, as much success as we've had this year, Houston, they still beat us more than we beat them. They still have a 16-game lead on us. And they still had the division basically wrapped up a month before the season ended. So, as far as we have come, the Astros, they're still looking down at us. And I guess it just makes sense that at some point you're going to have to beat them straight up. You're going to have to actually knock them out in order to prove that you've truly arrived. All right, people. We're about 4 hours away, actually 3.5, now that I think about it, from first pitch in Houston. ALDS against the Astros. And trust me, this Mariners season has been a roaring success. It has. But I know that even with that, Mariners fans would really not appreciate having their season end at the hands of a team like the Astros, a team that we have been groomed to hate because we share a division with them. So, look, it's an uphill battle. It is. I think we all know that. I think we all know what we're talking about here. These Astros, they've had a great season, 106 wins. They're not as deep with their lineup as they have been in the past. They may not, in some ways, contain the absolute damage in terms of what in terms of what their lineup can do. They've lost maybe a little bit of that, but it is a great team. They're borderline. They didn't quite get to historically great, but there is more than enough going on with this team to look at and go, how are we going to deal with this? So I know that we're heavy underdogs. I know that the odds are long. I get all of that. But I'm happy for the challenge. And again, if you want to be the best, at some point you're going to have to beat the best. If you want to make a deep playoff run, you're going to have to knock off some great teams. That's just part and parcel of trying to make the deep playoff run. And I also know that Major League Baseball playoffs, they can get a little bit random and crazy. So we know the Astros. If you're a Mariners fan watching this video, I don't need to tell you guys what they got. Their lineup, it's not as deep as some other lineups. They have a couple of holes in that lineup. They have a few players who are just kind of mediocre. Maldonado, I mean, he does kind of beat up on us at times, and it's annoying, but overall, he's not good at the plate. Gurriel's had a very subpar season. Pena, he's young. He's a rookie. He's 24 years old. He's going to be good in the future for sure, but this year he was just passable. They have a couple other guys in that lineup who are not scary. They don't have a great bench in terms of like guys you can pull out to pinch hit and expect to come through a lot. Maybe Mancini, but honestly, since Mancini got there, he's been meh. And that's me being very generous. He hasn't even really been meh. But you've still got Altuve mashing, one of the best hitters. You've got maybe the best hitter in the AL after Aaron Judge with Alvarez. 187 ops plus. Power. Average. He's the full package. Kyle Tucker, Michael Brantley, still good. Alex Bregman, still very potent. It is a lineup that can do it all. They hit for a high average, and they hit for a lot of power. I know Logan Gilbert's taking the mound in Game 1, and I'm sure we're going to get Castillo Game 2. Game 3, do we go with Kirby or do we go with Ray? Nothing feels great. Against this lineup, it doesn't feel like it's what you want going against a guy like a Logan Gilbert, who has been great for us and absolutely needs to make this start. In Minute Maid Park, I think that's what it's called, it doesn't feel good because they could absolutely hit 3 or 4 balls out of the park and it wouldn't even be that shocking. Same when they go up against Robbie Ray if they do. Robbie Ray, these guys give up home runs. These guys are kind of, they can be fly ball pitchers sometimes. This is not a team you want to be a fly ball pitcher against. Too many of their fly balls end up in the stands. So, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I am going to say we need a incredible start from Castillo in Game 2. I'm assuming he's going to play Game 2. And he is going to have to be lights out, locked down, absolutely monstrous for us to steal that game in Houston and come back home with a chance to close it out. And then you're going to need Robbie Ray to find a gear that I don't know if you can count on him to have. Like, we are going to need some insane tricks from this pitching staff that is not the best equipped to handle a lineup like this to pull it out. But the opportunity is there. And the pitching staff, again, I don't need to tell you guys, I mean, my God. My God. Okay, Verlander, Valdez, and Javier's probably their 1, 2, 3 they're going to use. Honestly, they kind of go 7 deep with quality starters. They have 7 guys who would all be starters in the Mariners rotation over Marco or Flexen, I think. They have 1 mediocre starter, and everyone else is good to spectacular. But they only need 3. So you've got to deal with Verlander, who's probably the Cy Young, probably the best pitcher in the league this year. You've got Valdez and his 17 wins and his incredible year. And you've got Christian Javier, 2.5 ERA, absolutely dominant staff. And you've got to deal with a bullpen that includes some monsters. And you've got to deal with a crew of starters that don't have to worry about starting. They can come out of the bullpen in an emergency situation and probably still get it done. So it's a lot to overcome. It is. Maybe if you want to talk about weaknesses, Montero has been shaky at points this year. I know there was a stretch of time where Montero was not pitching well for them. Maybe. But their bullpen has so many other guys that are pitching at such a high level that if they don't need to go to him in a tight situation, they don't have to. It's hard. It's hard to imagine this lineup, this sporadic, inconsistent, dependent on walks and sometimes even mistakes like errors and HBPs to produce lineup to get it done against this crew. It just is. So here's what I'm going to say. We maybe you found some consistency in that Toronto series, because like I said, with the exception of maybe France and Haniger, and even they contributed some, you got something from pretty much everybody who played against Toronto. So maybe that's a turning point. Maybe we can look at J.P. Crawford and go, he's not an automatic out. He can do something here. Maybe you can look at a guy like Kelnick and say, yeah, okay, he's not hitting well right now, but he can do his job. He's capable of doing his job. He can get that sac fly. Maybe you're looking at a guy like, I don't know. I'm not going to say Toro yet because he hasn't played in the playoffs yet, but maybe you're looking at somebody like a Santana and you're like, I can rely on that guy to come through in a big spot. It's going to be tough. I understand that, but look, in a year like this, I'm just along for the ride and I'm happy for whatever we get. And that's really all I can say, guys. Like, I can't tell you this Houston team is not terrifying. They have a lot of different things they can throw at you. The only thing that I see with this Houston team that even approaches a weakness is that thing I said. Their lineup is a little shallow. They don't have a lot of guys that can come off that bench who can get it done that I'm seeing. I think almost everybody on that bench had a sub 100 ops plus, and they've got some. They depend heavily on their top end guys, but their top end guys are so good. I mean, I wish the Mariners had that problem. I wish they had the problem of, our top 5 or top 6 hitters are so elite, the other guys look pathetic in comparison. Like, that's a good problem to have. Obviously, we dapped up Verlander a little bit in a start earlier this year, but hard to expect that again. I mean, he gave up home runs to Kyle Lewis and Taylor Trammell, I think. Like, That's not happening. Mostly because those guys aren't going to play in this game probably. But it's hard to imagine we break through in game 1. So we need Castillo to pitch out of his mind again in game 2. Find a way to allow a couple of runs to win that game. And then we get it back home. And we see what the home crowd can do for us against Javier and, unfortunately, probably Verlander again. It's an uphill battle, guys. We're playing a team that spends more money than us. We're playing a team that has more experience than us. They have a deeper pitching staff and probably at this point, actually definitely a deeper bullpen than us. So it's going to be tough, but it's going to be fun. It's fun to be here, guys. And I don't want to be the happy to be here guy. But I do want to be the guy who honestly can sit here and say, I'd rather have the problem of worrying how we're going to deal with Houston in the ALCS than have the problem of sitting at home watching the other teams in the playoffs again. Okay, let's get it done. First pitch in like 3.5 hours. Let's see what we got. Go Mariners.